I managed, she actually repaired them, the original tabs that are as authentic as can still be. And whilst repairing them, I found the patent date, which is there. It says patent 10th September 1928, so I said they were late 10th, they cannot be from before 1928. Now the patent date could predate them by a lot, but I don't think they were popular after 1949, probably after the mid-30s. So these did work before with big riveted buttons, but because the original tabs have been heavily enclosed into a more modern thick cotton canvas because they were breaking, and the back wants to prevent them from breaking. Now the hole is smaller and thereof will not function with these. I was wearing them with the much smaller buttons upon the World War I French dark white linen trousers, but then I'm obliged to wear these now with those. And these dark trousers are also breaking. They have been heavily, not heavily, but have been fixed in lots of places. Back a year ago, there was darning down all around the pockets. Very recently, there was a hole there, so it was patched. Darning down at the hem, and the whole pocket was repaired, the right one, and then it broke completely and it was practically destroyed. So a neighboring repair shop, from walking distance from my apartment, from my studio, replaced it with the cloth they had, which was linen. Unbleached, so it's quite period accurate, probably more period accurate than the original cotton, which turned black from washing then. And now the top hat, so I talked about the braces, the chef. So yes, why am I no longer wearing the red Frontier Classic shirt? Well, very recently, I was wearing that until very recently. I went to Switzerland, so I went out of Dubai for the first time in 5 years, back in June. And I went with that shirt, and only that shirt, just to visit my sister, another sister that lives there. And by the time I came back, it was fully in horrid condition. The collar was all broken down, and the cleaner repaired it as best as it is possible to repair. Added that piece of cloth that I gave to her. I resawed all the buttons, and she did a lot of darning. I told her to do it without them there. It was fraying away. On the top of the cuffs, and she even done, there was a hole there from ironing and starching. It was about this big, and she sawed it, then it broke again, and it broke until here, and this is not repellable, and it shows. So instead, because of that hole, I now wear it as a pajama shirt, and then if I wear that shirt, which is the only one I have to wear, apart from the white shirts, for morning. So I have to get a lot of things, and my card gets blocked after 300 euros is spent. And also, so my French bank card. So, and I purchase everything through eBay second hand, even the socks. I will now get the most pure accurate socks I can, and they're actually not older than the 60s or 50s, because I am compromising between the oldest pair and the style I want, and the more accurate cloth. So I could find socks from all the way to the 1920s, but they are in rayon, most of them, or contain rayon or nylon for the 1930s or 40s one. But I do not want that because it gives my causes, and because it's not comfortable, and because it is less period accurate than I find something from the 60s, which might not be an accurate cotton, but at least is made from 100% cotton and all wool or whatever. Something that they actually had the core cloth of. So, and I had to get slippers because my pink slippers are dead, and I wanted these kind of Persian slippers, and I managed to find a vintage pair that obviously did not fit, although normally it should have fitted, but it was horribly too small, so I gave them to my mother. And then I found these. These are modern, max perhaps 40 years, but are quite period accurate. They are made from felted wool. Just look at this, that's so amazing. And these are from Kyrgyzstan. So you type Kyrgyz slippers, you will find some others like on eBay. They're just amazing. So, and I need more indoors shoes I found. No, I might as well have it to share. Now the top hat. Top hat is a nightmare. The silk top hat. Remember how it looked from the 1925, 1930 top hat playlist when it was brand new. But this is how it looks now. I only began wearing it back in November, and I have not even been, for example, when I went to Switzerland, I did not go with it because it is so immensely fragile. So I've been wearing it since November, and this is how it looks now. And so at first I was very careful not to knock it off, but I was not treating it pristine. And then when I saw how fragile it was and how hard it is to get and whatever, I began treating it pristine, starting in, I think, April or March. And had not even been, I only began wearing it in November. And basically, by not treating it pristine, I was always really, because it's so hot here, picking it up and off and not removing my gloves, and then I completely stopped that. And treating it pristine means I simply, because already I had worn out all the silk. No, sorry, the front is there. In the front, from picking it up and the silk binding. So then I said, you know what, every time I would try to touch it as least as possible. So once it's upon my head, it is upon my head. So I do give myself somewhat some relaxation in the summer, because in the summer it is so immensely hot and I still want to wear it, and it goes to 50 here, like 50 degrees. That I will occasionally move it, and I try to wear it more to the side, but the problem is once I walk the dog, if it falls or whatever, and if I have to bend down and the hat falls down, it will get irreparable damage, or at least irreparable because I am far away from the only person that can repair it, because it will get knocked out. So it is best to touch it, but I don't. Then what I do is I remove my glove and I only touch it from the back, and you can see where I touched it from. So initially I only grabbed it from here, and I thought if I wear this silk ribbon, because this whole thing is silk, so it is super fragile. Although it is some of the strongest silk that was ever made, it's still silk at the end of the day. And these things are immensely fragile as hats, you know, compared to derbies or slouch hats, or, you know, or top hats, but all the felt. This is not felt. So basically, I was grabbing it because the thinking was, had reason in my mind so much how to grab it was bringing the least damage possible. And obviously, I was thinking the Silk-Plush cannot be replaced nowadays. Although I would say that Craig said from Bombs-Away-LeMay, the man who was recreating Silk-Plush, he finally managed. Now, he has recreated Silk-Plush completely. But go on his, you know what, go read about it. There's still about, but he's working on. So now it has worked. There's a Silk-Plush recreated by a man, the true Silk-Plush. By Jove, imagine that, he learned it from the internet. But he could not recreate the best of the best that stopped production in the 30s. He's now at the 60s level of plush, because the plush in all itself stopped being produced by 1970. So he managed to recreate that. So go read it on Bombs-Away-LeMay, or just type on Google, type recreating Silk-Plush Reddit. You will find, look at, you know, peruse about it. Now the reasoning was because especially at that time he had not recreated it, or at least I did not know. So the reasoning was, obviously if I grab it, one of the things, grab it from there because this is stronger and this cannot directly be seen, rather than a brim binding, which is super fragile. The silk upon the brim binding is simply grosgrain silk, which is even way more fragile. But grosgrain silk, even this exact same, even all the types, is still being made in Japan and all. So the reasoning was, I grab it from there. This is less precious. This is with the tip of my fingers. I try to do it every time, the same spot.